三宝というは、一には仏法、二には方宝、三には僧宝なり。今この浄土宗は仏法なりと。The three treasures are: first, the Buddha treasure; second, the Dharma treasure; third, the Sangha treasure. The present Pure School belongs to the Buddha treasure. ナモアミーダ仏、ナモアミーダ仏、ナモアミーダ仏、ナマンダ仏、ナンマンダ仏、ナンマンダ仏。Good morning and welcome to today's Rennyo Shonin Memorial Service. And I was wondering if I should mention this, and I was talking with Reverend Kobata behind the room, but I think I should mention a little bit, what happened in Texas. I have a fourth grader, and thinking about so many lives of fourth grader was taken by assault rifle. I just, I'm just speechless. I can't say anything. But this is my sincere hope that, the United States society will move towards the society which no one needs to live with fear. No one needs to live with fear of taking somebody's life away, or your children's lives taken away. So I'm just hoping, no more violence happens in this country. But Reverend Kubata will announce something later at the end of the service. So I'm not going into more detail. But yeah, I can. It's really sad news to hear. But anyway, so last week we had a celebration of birthday of Shinran Shonin, and as Marilyn mentioned, Shinran Shonin is on which side? Right, this side. So Shinran Shonin scroll is on this side, not the big one, but the small scroll inside of the altar. And Rennyo Shonin is in the altar too, but Rennyo Shonin is on the right side from me, but left side from you. And today we are observing the memorial service for our 8th head priest of the tradition, Rennyo Shonin. And again, Shonin is not the name. Last week I talked about it. But interesting thing is that we use different characters for Shinran Shonin and Honen Shonin and other teachers. So we use top characters, Shonin, for Shinran and Honen, and it means venerable master. And all the English translation often translated this word Shonin as saint, because we use the same character for saints of Christianity. But Shonin doesn't mean saint, but it means like venerable master. And we use bottom characters for present head priest and past head priest of our tradition and respected teacher. And now, we have a picture of Gomonshu-sama, Sennyo Shonin. His worldly name is, or usual name is Kojun Otani, but his Dharma name is Sennyo. So we call him Sennyo Shonin, using the bottom characters of Shonin to show our respect. So when we say Rennyo Shonin, we are using the same characters as Sennyo Shonin, bottom characters, meaning eminent master or respected teacher. And today, we had chant Wasans. It's been a long time since we chant Wasans, and it sounded so nice, hearing your chanting voice from down here. And yeah, it was really nice to hear the chanting of Wasan. And, I chose Wasan today because it was Rennyo Shonin who started the tradition of chanting Shoshin and Wasan in our daily services. So, This is our head temple, Nishi Hongwanji in Kyoto. And Nishi Hongwanji have morning services and afternoon services every day, and we chant Shoshin there. And this is a tradition from Rennyo Shonin, which means 600 years. I think we are keeping this tradition for 600 years. Well, actually close to 500 years. Then, before this tradition of chanting Shoshin, it is said we Jodo Shinshu followers chant Ojo Raisan, which is the hymns on attaining birth by Master Shantao from China, And it's a really beautiful chanting, but it's long, I think longer than Shoshin. So maybe one day we have a chance to chant Ojo Raisan together, but I haven't worked on, the romanizing the Chinese characters yet. So we don't have any materials to chant Ojo Raisan, but maybe one day. But anyway, so Rennyo Shonin is descendant of Shinran Shonin and 8th head priest of our tradition. And we acknowledge him because our tradition was almost dying around Rennyo Shonin's time. But he revived the tradition through sending letters to the followers, traveling to the different places to propagate the teaching of Nembutsuge. So without Rennyo Shonin's efforts, we could not be here to listen to the teaching together. And Rennyo Shonin passed away on May 14th, 1499, that we are observing the memorial service for Rennyo Shonin on May. So the word I shared at the beginning is from one of the letters of our founder, Shinran Shonin. So it's not the word from Rennyo Shonin's word, but from Shinran Shonin. And we just read this letter at the Wednesday night study class, and I thought this part is particularly interesting. And this is from the letter 8 of Learn for Latter Ages, which is the collection of the letters of Shinran Shonin. And the words of this letter comes from Shinran Shonin's teacher, Honen Shonin. And Shinran Shonin compiled the saying and the teaching of Honen Shonin in one of the writings titled Saiho Shinansho. One of the translation of the title is The Path to the Pure. And in there, he said, out of the 3 treasures, we entrust ourselves to the Buddha treasure. And actually, there is no word equivalent to entrust in the original Japanese, but this section is which Honen Shonin describing the teaching of Jodo school, which is the school of other power of Amida Buddha. So the translator, Arai Sensei, probably inserted the word entrust in the translation. And then the Pure Land school belongs to and entrust to Buddha treasure. What this means. Right? And this is such a short explanation that I can only guess the intention of 2 venerable masters, Shinran Shonin and Honen Shonin. But I believe this part is discussing what brings us to the attainment of enlightenment, attainment of birth into the Pure Land. And that is Buddha treasure. Dharma teaches us the working of Amida Buddha, but it is not the teaching which brings us to the attainment of enlightenment. And Sangha encourages us to walk the path together, but it is not the working of the Sangha which brings us to the attainment of enlightenment. So in our tradition of other power of Amida Buddha, it is the Buddha we entrust. So we still rely on the teaching to deepen our understanding. We rely on the Sangha as companion of life, companion of the same practice. But we solely entrust ourselves to the working of Buddha. And this is one of the main teachings of Jodo Shinshu, which is often emphasized by Rennyo Shonin. And it is often expressed as the word Heizei Gojo, Heizei Gojo. And Heizei means in daily lives. And Gojo is actually the shortened word of Goji Joben, which means our karmic cause to attain birth in the Pure Land will be settled. So through Shinjin and trusting heart, the power of the primal vow of Amida Buddha, through the working of the name Namo Amida Butsu, our attainment of birth into the Pure Land will be settled in this daily lives. That is the meaning of Heisei Gojo. So this is really reassuring teaching, because how and when we die is not the issue, but the moment when we entrust ourselves to Amida's working, we are settled to be born into the Pure Land and attain Buddhahood when we pass away. So after reading this letter and the translation by Arai Sensei, it reminded me of one of the letters of Rennyo Shonin. And actually, Rennyo Shonin often talks about this Heisei Gojo in the letter, and then he also talks about different things in his letters. And there was a divergent understanding or misunderstanding called Zenjishiki Kimyo, meaning solely rely on the good teacher, solely relying on the good teacher. And seems like the followers of this understanding disregarded Amida Buddha. And in the letter, it said, またある人の言葉に曰く、たとえ乱ぎ奇妙すというとも、全知識なくはいたずらごとなり、このゆえに我らにおいては全知識ばかりを頼むべしと云々。Again, some other people say, even if you take refuge in Amida, without a good spiritual teacher, it is useless. Therefore, you should solely rely on the good spiritual teacher. And according to the history of Hongwanji, Volume 1, seems like it was common for the followers to rely on the teacher. So, meeting the good teacher was really important around the time of Rennyo Shonin. And, actually meeting a good teacher is important in this present days too. But it does not mean that we should disregard Amida Buddha. Even though the teacher is funny and the talk is easy to understand, just like me. But if the teacher is disregarding Amida Buddha, then that's not the way it should be, right? A good teacher is the one who propagates the teaching of Amida Buddha and guides them and enjoy the teaching together with them. So ideally, the one who can share the teaching with jokes, that is ideal, but that is difficult to find a teacher who have good balance of jokes and doctrine, right? And this is similar to the story of monk who had supernatural power and an ordinary Jodo Shinshu priest, which I shared in the past. And I believe this story is on the book Ocean, written by Reverend Ken Tanaka too. But in short, a village needed to choose either one of the monk or priest. And then it is nice to have the monk who have supernatural power to solve any issues. But the villagers were afraid of after he is gone. So the villagers chose Jodo Shinshu priest to stay in the village, and they enjoyed the teaching of Amida Buddha together. And also, a different story, but I'm learning Tai Chi from Master Gao Jiamin. She is referred to as Tai Chi Queen of China, right? Tai Chi Queen of China. If you go to YouTube and search Yang Style 24 or Gao Jiamin, you would find many videos of her. But, she is one of the best practitioners of Tai Chi in the world. And she happened to reside in Portland. So I thought I have to take this advantage and learn Tai Chi from her, right? And I wanted to learn Tai Chi from her because her move is so smooth and, seemed like her understanding of each moves are based on the actual application. It's not dancing, but, it's based on the actual application. So, I feel that I'm getting better at it because of the guidance of Master Gao. So, to encounter the good teacher, it's important to deepen the understanding. And this is the same for the Pure Land teaching. When I started my ministry in the United States, I often talked about impermanence, interdependence, Eightfold Noble Path, six parameters, and so on. And I thought it's better to have a general understanding of Buddhism first, then move on to Jodo Shinshu. And these impermanence, interdependence, Eightfold Noble Path, six parameters, these are important teachings in Buddhism. But at some point, I started to feel that I am Jodo Shinshu priest. And just promoting the Buddhism teaching in general, then I don't have to be Jodo Shinshu priest to do that, right? I could be any school's priest to do that, right? So since then, I shifted to talk more about Jodo Shinshu teachings. And now, my talk is more like lecture, but I think it is okay because we don't have much information on Jodo Shinshu online or in the books, right? So if anyone have questions on the teachings or on my talk, you can email me. But my knowledge is limited, so please don't send me like really tough questions. If you have tough questions, you can refer to Kobata sensei instead. So, if some people encountered the teaching of Jodo Shinshu through listening to my talk, then I feel really happy that I did not get in the way of Nembutsu teaching to spread. But if my talk confused people, then I really feel sorry for the masters from the past and for Shakyamuni and Amida Buddha. And, if I'm confusing some people, then I need to study more to spread the teaching of Nembutsu correctly. And in the letter of Rennyo Shonin, which shared at the part of it, actually I'm going to read the whole letter at the end of my talk, but in there, Rennyo Shonin said, the function of a good spiritual teacher is simply to urge people to entrust themselves to Amida single-mindedly. So, regardless of how I think about myself, I don't consider myself sensei or reverend, but, people see me as a teacher of Jodo Shinshu teachings, right? So, as Rennyo Shonin said, my function is to simply urge people to entrust themselves to Amida's working. And if I don't do that, I feel that I'm failing as Jodo Shinshu priest, right? So I hope I'm doing my job every Sunday, right? But anyway, so Rennyo Shonin felt that it is Amida Buddha who we entrust to, and it is not the teacher. So it was also Rennyo Shonin who had set the object of reverence as Amida Buddha or Namo Amida Butsu. So he handwritten many 6 characters, Namo Amida Butsu, and gave it to many followers. And he was hoping that the teaching of Nembutsu, teaching of the Pure Land path to spread, and because of Rennyo Shonin's efforts, Jodo Shinshu became one of the biggest schools in Japan. And it is amazing thing that we are being able to listen to the teaching which Rennyo Shonin hoped to spread in 15th century. And now we are listening to the teaching here in Portland, Oregon in 21st century. So that's really amazing, isn't it? Right? So today, let us express our gratitude for Rennyo Shonin's effort, and let us enjoy the teaching of Nembutsu together as long as we can. Okay? So now I'd like to conclude my talk with a reading of one of the letters of Rennyo Shonin, Goju no Gisho, the Fivefold Doctrine. And I just read it in Japanese today because it's a little bit longer than a usual letter. But here is a translation by Hongwanji, Letters of Rennyo. And I believe BCA bookstores carries it, or some other bookstores might have it. So if you are interested, please come see me, and you can take picture of this book or something and you can find it online. But here is the translation. I hope you can see it. It's too tiny. That's the benefit of maybe attending the online service. You can see it a little bit bigger than attending the service in the temple. But anyway, 何万だそれ東流親鸞上人の関係の趣近年諸国において主従不動なりこれを機に浅ましき次第なりそのゆえはまず東流には他力の信心のもって文部の上を先とせられたるところにその信心の片を場をしのけて沙汰せずしてその進むる言葉に曰く実行小学の始めより我らが往生を皆如来の定めましましたまえることを忘れぬがすなわち信心の姿なりと言えりこれさらに皆に奇妙して他力の信心の得たる分ななしさればいかに実行小学の始めより我らが往生を定めたまえることを知りたりというとも我らが往生すべき他力の信心のいわれをよく知らずは極楽には往生すべからざるなりまたある人の言葉に曰くたとえ皆に奇妙すというとも全知識なくはいたずらごとなりこのゆえに我らにおいては全知識ばかりを頼むべしとうんぬんこれも美しく東流の信心の得ざる人なりと聞こえたりそもそも全知識の能というは一心一行に皆に奇妙し立て祀るべしと人を進むべきばかりなりこれによって五十の義を立てたり一つには祝善二つには全知識三つには光明四つには信心五つには名号この五十の義成就せずは往生は可能べからずと見えたりされば全知識というは阿弥陀仏に奇妙せよと言える使いなり祝善解放して全知識に合わずは往生は可能べからざるなりしかれども帰するところの皆を捨ててただ全知識ばかりを本当すべきこと大きなる誤りなりと心べきもの アナカシコアナカシコ何万打仏何万打仏何万打仏何万打仏